Hey everybody, still here, Daily Market Pulse for Friday, Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2014. We had stocks opening up lower and dropping quite a bit lower, but then reversing and strongly reversing near their session highs for the day. But they did so in lower volume going into a long weekend. So all gets very fascinating now what happens on Tuesday when the markets reopen following this President's Day weekend. We'll see how that goes. But you'd think after 5, 6, 7 green days, at some point they're going to take a breather. We'll see how that works. And if they take a breather, how big will that breather be? So let's look at the charts. Of course, by now we know everything's been going higher. We had the push up, we had a pause, we had a push up, we had a couple of day pause in a sense, but you see the gap opened a little bit on the lower today. It's slightly lower and then pushed all the way through into the next level. We have all these gold lines across as potential targets, resistance areas, and that's right where it sits at the moment. It's nowhere near the original highs, as you can see, near 16,500 or 16,600 for that matter. Lots of room to the upside. So even a triple digit like today um, doesn't seem to put much of a dent in the loss. It's still only at the 50-day moving average, and that's it, which is cool. It's through the 50%. Obviously, it's through the 618. It's now into that area. The 20 is still declining. There's still a dead cross. If there's any inclination or indication at all, this may start slowing down and reversing. But the real key is going to be the Nasdaq. I'll show you here in a minute. The S&P is next. So clearly the S&P is stronger than the Dow, but you see the resistance level that was there in the past from the beginning of January into mid-January. And we haven't quite accomplished getting back to that place yet. But look at all the green since the lows at the 1740, 1735-ish. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 6 out of the last 7, 7 out of the last 9 have been green. Pretty amazing. So again, four consecutive closes above a flat 50, and of course a declining 20. The 8 moving average now crossing the 20, now getting into the 50. So I would expect now, or anticipate that this would be a resistance level going into 1840, 1845 here, just because of the way the moving averages are. They're all kind of confused going in weird directions. If you remember with the crude, that's what happened there. So I would imagine that's going to happen here. So let's look at the Nasdaq though. Okay, Nasdaq, you can see where we are now. This is the high right here. So we're right at the highs. So the high back over here was 42.46.55. Today's high 42.50.91. So not quite at those levels. Well, actually, I'm sorry, 42.46, 42.50. Yes, we made a new high, pardon me, but still closed below the high from back then. So no sell candle, but we didn't have one back there either until the following day when we had a falling window and then everything started to fall apart and collapse. So there's no telling what's going to happen here. Bullish move into this level, slight pause today. Nasdaq becomes important, and there's no question about it. But we have to wait and see now at this point what it's going to do next, and will it in fact move higher, or will it take a breather coming back down toward 4,200 or 41.75 for that matter? So we'll have to wait and see. TSX right into that 14,000 now went plus beyond 14,000. So it was there yesterday, went through that today, made a new high, but right into the old trend line it looks like as well. To go to a weekly real quick just to show you. Actually, that trend line is actually lower, isn't it? I guess so. Yeah. So that actually trend line gets a little skewed when you go to the daily. So don't disregard that blue line. It's nothing. Except it's at the 1618 extension at this point on this most recent move. U.S. dollar, Canadian dollar, you can see that just continued flagging. It was in the 618 in the last few days, testing that area, dipped below it a little bit, as it formed a hammer today from the 618 into the 50%. So this might in fact be the end of the consolidation. We'd like to see maybe a little further bounce with a higher green candle close here, probably to confirm this support area. Treasuries took a breather. It did bounce off the 618 nicely yesterday and then went a little bit higher today, but taking a little bit of a breather above the 20-day moving average. It might chop around here a little bit before it gets some traction. Likely, I'm assuming this is going to go higher. And it might start as early as Tuesday when the markets reopen. Japanese yen got a nice bounce off the 20-day moving average, a little bit of a roundedness. In fact, if you look at this on an intraday, for instance, you're going to see kind of a cup-like, well, it's not quite as clean, but it's kind of like a cup-like formation. You can see there, somewhat. So there's a push. You're looking for targets to go back up toward 99, 99.50 once again. Gold all of a sudden on fire. Looking for a target of 1360 over here. Ultimately, let me drop that down a hair right there. 1360 essentially, and maybe a little bit of a hiccup right in this vicinity right here. Come on. There, and that's kind of where it is right now. Into the 200, into that little pivot area, and so nice to see the roundedness of this thing there. Let's see the formation. Almost W-shaped, kind of broad, shallow, rounded bottom for sure, so that's not bad. Cup-like formation. Silver, on the other hand, I mentioned silver was lagging, and to be careful, just to pay attention, because this thing, it might just take off and hard and fast, and sure enough, it went right into 2050 and then blew $1 higher. So 5% on that move alone today. Nice move, excellent move. Again, just like gold, you've probably got a little bit of a hiccup across here. And of course, ultimately, you're looking at the 23 mark up here, up there. So there's still room to 22 and then eventually 23. Okay, once again, crude is just literally sideways. You got doji, doji, spinning top, or high wave, doji, doji, you know, all across. Very much kind of just confused, profit taking, undecided. Massive indecision. I could certainly make a joke or a crack about that, but I'm not going to. On Valentine's Day especially, that just wouldn't work. So you get at a pivot area, lots of confusion above a flat to rising 200, a rising 8 of course, and of course now the 20 having crossed over the 50 finally. No more confusion there in terms of the moving averages. So this is just getting set up and ready. All the rejections with those long lower shadows, especially the last couple of days, would suggest the bulls are absolutely full well present, and they're looking for a push into 101, 102, into 103. It could pull back though into, to expect maybe a 98 to 98.50, possibly. It could before the next run higher. I don't think I see this thing drop into 92. I just don't. It's possible with all these dojis, and as confused as this looks, that's sometimes a sign of, in fact, that things could sell off. But you'd think that they would have already done it by now. So anyway. Okay, small caps looking a lot like actually the Dow Jones, or just happens to get right over the 50. The 20 still crossing below. It's into the next another little pivot area, so it's holding at 114 for now, with room to 116 plus still. Looks a lot like the Dow. It looks fine, looks great. However, lagging the Nasdaq, for instance, and this is risk on, so it makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. Okay, let's look at the VIX. Okay, VIX dropped through 15, through 1450, and then now into the next window area right here. There's a small window right there, and that's the support area right now that it's currently testing. So that could be of significance at a time when I'm still thinking the market should be heading lower. They're not. So no buy candle. Obviously, there's no reversal. There's no doji here. There's no, there's nothing. There's no hammer. No bullish. There's no bullish piercing. There's no bullish engulfing. There's nothing. So we have to wait to see if this support is actually real or not, or does it come all the way back down and flushing into 12, 1250 once again.